The thing that is shocking to me is, and that's my new work, part of my new work, isn't so much whether something is right or wrong. It's the fact that how come something can be deemed as wrong by individuals, can be and considered as true by the collective. Okay, if you take a cab driver knows that you can't forecast. Okay, that you have to have a buffer. But if you collectively put people together, they start believing in the stock market, all kind of lunacies. Okay, and all kind of stuff. This is what shocks me about it. So Fat Tony has a saying: it's easier to scam people with billions than scam them with thousands. And it's a lot easier to fool the multitude than fool a single person. And we know from social epistemology, from contagions, from something called informational cascades, that this is entirely true. So you've had over the past 30 years, a clustering of opinion in academia, and everything's dominated by, it's like almost the same economist, who's wrong, by the way. So, and you supply them with the truth, like your statistical method don't work in the tails, hence robustness. You can't compute these risks because they're uncomputable. You supply them with the fact that you can't forecast. Don't let people be suckers by relying on forecast errors. You supply them with all these facts, and guess what you get? Nothing. But this is well known in medicine, and in medicine it bears the name translational gap. Like it took 200 years for doctors to stop killing patients, because if you have pneumonia, you multiply your chance of death by 4 if you're bled. You know, and bleeding was a standard procedure. They bled you first and then started the conversation. That was, and no doctor wanted to do anything that other doctors didn't do, and they knew they were killing patients individually, you see. But that was the profession. It's the same thing in economics, same thing in forecasting. The IMF never got anything right. The last time I had I had a anger fit, was number 2 of the IMF, some schmuck called Dr. Cato. I'm on a record here. So now anything I say about public affairs and private is public. That's my ethic. Mr. Cato was in Korea presenting the poor Korean, 2,500 people in the room, with the forecast by the IMF for 2010, 11, 12, 13, and 14. Okay, and my rage came from the fact that Mr. Cato, show him your forecasts for 2007 and 8 and 9, made in 2001, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Had you done that, you'd realize that it's totally unreliable. But guess what? He's made to forecast. That's their business. All right? He's not going to stop. A crisis is not going to be, say, oh, what's the crisis, all right? Just like what's the death of 1 million patients, right? To stop them from their methods. That's the problem of stickiness. It's called institutional stickiness. Mother Nature doesn't do that this way. Mother Nature kills. It doesn't have tenure. So it acts by destroying, not by teaching or preaching, all right? So, and when I did my model of a perfect society, it would be something in which people like that would be destroyed naturally, organically. Now, so institutions keep things around, okay? So, the problem is, of course, I had these poor 2,500 suckers taking notes on his forecasts, okay, thinking they're real.
Groups never admit failure. A group would rather keep living in a mythology of we were oppressed than ever admit failure. Individuals are the only ones who admit failure. Even individuals don't like to admit failure, but eventually they can be forced to. A group will never admit they were wrong. A group will never admit we made a mistake, because a group that tries to change its mind falls apart. So I'm hard-pressed in history to find examples of large groups where they've said, we thought A, but the answer is actually B. Usually what happens in that case is a schism where you go from Catholic Church to Protestant and so on. There's a divergence and usually a lot of infighting. This happens in crypto land too, where the coins fork. Bitcoin doesn't suddenly say we should have had smart contracts, or ETH doesn't suddenly say we should have been immutable. I was on the board of a foundation that was charged with giving out money for a cause. And I found it very disillusioning, because what I learned was that no matter what the foundation did, they would declare victory. They would give money for a certain thing. They would support a certain project. And every project was victorious. Every project was a success. There was a lot of backslapping. There was a lot of high-sounding mission statements and vision statements, a lot of congratulations, a lot of nice dinners, but nothing ever got done. And what I realized was because there is no objective feedback, because there is no loss, it's all social profit, they couldn't fail. And because they couldn't fail, they misdirected resources all day long. And eventually, of course, such groups run out of money. If you want to change the world to a better place, the best way to do it is a for-profit, because for-profits have to take feedback from reality. Ironically, for-profit entities are more sustainable than non-profit entities. They're self-sustainable. You're not out there with a begging bowl all the time. Now, of course, you lose the beautiful non-profit status. You have to pay your taxes. And also, you can get corrupted by being purely for-profit. But I would argue that the best businesses are the ones that long-term are both for-profit, sustainable, and ethical, so you can attract the best people. You can sustain it because it's a mission. It's not just about the money, because there's diminishing returns to making money. There's diminishing marginal utility to money in your life. So I learned that if you want to change the world, you're probably better off trying to do it with a for-profit.
And now I will leave you with some insightful quotes. Madness is rare in individuals, but in groups, parties, nations, and ages, it is the rule. Nietzsche. It is not famine, not earthquakes, not microbes, not cancer, but man himself who is man's greatest danger to man, for the simple reason that there is no adequate protection against psychic epidemics, which are infinitely more devastating than the worst of natural catastrophes. Carl Jung. Whenever you find yourself on the side of the majority, it is time to pause and reflect. Mark Twain. Be a free thinker and don't accept everything you hear as truth. Be critical and evaluate what you believe in. Aristotle. Against the corrosive stickiness of institutions, let me close with a famous quote from Nobel Prize physicist Richard Feynman. Science is the belief in the ignorance of the experts. So that's all for today's nuggets, and if you also want to get the best nuggets from books, I recommend you to check out Shortform, which is a platform that I personally love using because I can learn from many books in a super efficient way. Shortform is not sponsoring this video, but I do have an affiliate link, which is shortform.com/pickinnuggets, and you can use it to get a 5-day free trial and a 20% discount on the annual subscription.